The evening air was crisp with the chill of December, and the house was filled with the faint aroma of cinnamon spices and the warmth of the fireplace. For me, New Year's Eve had always been the one night when family gathered, laughed, and shared resolutions. It was the night I looked forward to the most. My children around the table sharing food, clinking glasses, telling me about their plans and dreams. I had set the table with care. My daughter's favorite salad was ready. My son's preferred roast was resting in the oven. The decorations, the same old string lights we'd used every year, sparkled across the living room. I smiled, proud of myself. This year will be different, I thought. Even if things have been tense lately, tonight we'll start fresh. Families always come back together on New Year's. The front door opened. Laughter spilled in as my two children walked in, arms full of shopping bags. Their coats carried the sharp, cold air inside, along with their chatter. "Dad, don't tell me you made that salad again." My daughter laughed as she spotted the table. "I did," I replied softly, smiling. "It's tradition." She rolled her eyes. My son chuckled and said, "Tradition is old-fashioned, Dad. We've moved past that." I brushed off the remark, still smiling, though a sting settled in my chest. We sat at the table. I waited, excited, hoping the night would unfold as it always had, with jokes, with warmth, with family. But instead, my daughter cleared her throat. "Dad," she said firmly, "we wanted to tell you something." Her tone made my heart skip. "What is it?" I asked, folding my hands. She glanced at my son, who nodded. Then she looked straight into my eyes and dropped the words like a hammer. "This new year, we're celebrating without you." The air went silent. The ticking of the clock grew louder, echoing in the silence of the room. I blinked, trying to understand. "Without me? What do you mean?" My son leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing at his lips. "We've made other plans, Dad, big plans. A luxury trip. Just the two of us and some friends." I laughed nervously, thinking it must be a joke. "A trip? Well, that's fine. But we'll celebrate together when you come back, right?" "No, Dad," my daughter said sharply. "That's the point. We don't want you there." Her words sliced through me like glass. "I don't understand," I whispered, my voice trembling. Why wouldn't you want me there? We've always celebrated together." My son sighed, as though my confusion was a burden. "Because, Dad, you'll only ruin it. You're old-fashioned. You make everything boring. We just want to enjoy ourselves without you holding us back." I felt the warmth leave my body. My hands trembled against the tablecloth. "Holding you back? All I've ever done, all I've ever wanted, was to give you both good memories." My daughter pushed her chair back, annoyed. "Dad, don't make this dramatic. You should be happy we're even telling you. You'll be fine here. Watch TV, go to bed early. We'll be back after the holiday." Her tone was cold, dismissive, as though I were not their father but some uninvited guest in their lives. I looked at the plates I had prepared on the salad, the roast, the bread rolls. Hours of care, all for them. I had imagined us laughing over dinner, toasting to the new year. Instead, they had dropped this rejection like a bomb. For a long moment, I sat in silence, swallowing the ache in my chest. I wanted to shout. I wanted to cry. But my voice came out calm, fragile. "So that's it?" I asked. "After everything we've been through, after every New Year's I worked to make special, you'll just leave me behind?" My son stood, grabbing his coat. "Don't make this about the past. Times change, Dad. People change. You should too." They left their half-filled plates on the table and walked toward the door. My daughter tossed her hair, barely looking back. "We'll send you pictures, Dad. Don't wait up." And just like that, the door shut. Their laughter faded into the night, leaving me in a house decorated for a celebration I was no longer a part of. The candles flickered. The food grew cold. And for the first time in years, I realized I would be ringing in the new year alone. But deep inside, a thought whispered. A thought sharp enough to pierce the grief. They think they've won, but they have no idea what I've planned. The sound of the closing door still echoed through my ears as I sat at the table, staring at the flickering candles. Their laughter outside slowly faded, replaced by the dull silence of the house. My heart weighed heavy, yet I forced myself to believe they would return, perhaps apologize for the cruelty of their words. And indeed, after half an hour, they came back in, still talking between themselves, their coats damp with the evening frost. I looked up with cautious hope, expecting perhaps a change of heart. But what followed shattered any illusions I still clung to. My daughter tossed her shopping bags onto the couch and announced with a triumphant grin, "Dad, we booked it." "Booked what?" I asked, trying to keep my tone even. "Our New Year's trip," she replied excitedly. "The resort, the hotel, the whole package. It's all set." I blinked in confusion. "Resort? What resort?" "The luxury one, Dad," my son chimed in, his eyes gleaming with arrogance. 5-star, beach view, champagne dinners, fireworks at midnight. The works. My stomach sank. But what about our New Year's here? We've always celebrated together. Right here at this table." My daughter groaned as though I were a stubborn child. "Dad, that's old. We're tired of the same salad and roast, the same boring traditions. This year we're doing something fun." I swallowed hard, my voice trembling. "Tradition isn't boring. It's family. It's memories. Don't you remember when you were little? You begged me to stay up past midnight to watch the fireworks. We laughed until our stomachs hurt. That's what New Year's is about." My son scoffed, leaning back casually. "Yeah, Dad, that was when we were kids. We're grown-ups now. We don't need you clinging to us like some burden." "A burden?" I repeated, the word hitting me like a knife. He shrugged. "Face it. You'll only ruin the fun. You'll complain about the music, the crowds, the cost. You'll slow us down. You'll be embarrassing." The cruelty in his tone stung worse than any physical wound. My chest tightened, my throat burned, but still I tried to reason. I only wanted us to be together. That's all I ever wanted. A new year should start with family, not with exclusion. My daughter crossed her arms, rolling her eyes. "Dad, don't guilt trip us. You'll survive one night without us. Besides, we deserve this trip. We worked hard all year, and this is our reward." Her words struck me with bitter irony. "Worked hard?" I thought. Who paid your bills when you couldn't? Who covered your rent when you were short? Who kept this roof over your heads? But I swallowed my pride, refusing to lash out. Instead, I asked softly, "And who's paying for this luxury trip?" They exchanged a quick glance, then smirked. My son finally said, "Does it matter?" "It's handled. That's all you need to know." Something inside me snapped, but I forced my expression to remain calm. I recognized that smugness, that entitled smirk. The same look they had worn countless times when they assumed my sacrifices were owed to them. "Dad," my daughter said, her tone almost patronizing, "you should just be happy for us. Think about it. We'll be partying on the beach while you get to relax here in peace. Isn't that perfect?" "Perfect," I whispered. My fists clenched under the table. To sit alone in this house, staring at empty chairs where my children should be? "Oh, don't be so dramatic," my son cut in. "It's one holiday. You're acting like it's the end of the world." "It is the end of something," I muttered under my breath, though they didn't seem to hear. The more they spoke, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about one holiday. It was about respect, or rather their complete lack of it. They laughed together, scrolling through their phones, showing me pictures of the resort. Sparkling pools, golden beaches, dazzling fireworks. "Can you imagine us there, Dad?" My daughter teased. "Dressed in our best, sipping champagne. No offense, but it's not really your scene." I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. "No offense?" I repeated. "Do you even hear yourselves? You're casting me aside like I'm nothing." "Dad, stop making this so personal," my son said flatly. "This trip is about us. You should be grateful you don't have to spend money on it." The word struck again, a cruel twist of irony. I forced myself to keep quiet, though the truth was boiling inside me. If only they knew. If only they realized whose money had truly secured their little dream. But I stayed silent, watching as they celebrated their betrayal right in front of me. For them, this was victory. For me, it was heartbreak. And yet deep down, something darker stirred beneath the sorrow, a quiet, simmering resolve. They thought they had outsmarted me. They thought they were clever, casting me aside, mocking me, planning their luxury escape without a second thought for the man who had given them everything. But I knew something they didn't. Something that would change everything. And as their laughter filled the room, I sat in silence, my mind already moving ahead, piece by piece, toward the plan that would turn their betrayal into their greatest humiliation. For now, I let them gloat. I let them laugh. Because soon, very soon, they would realize just how badly they had underestimated me. The house was quiet again. Their laughter had faded into the hum of the heater and the echo of their words. Burden, embarrassing, old, still lingered like a poison in my chest. I shut the door to my room slowly, afraid it might creak too loudly, as though I could shatter what little dignity I had left with the sound. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my hands, these same hands that had carried them when they were small, that had tied shoelaces and held bicycle seats steady, now trembled with age and exhaustion. Wrinkles traced lines across my knuckles, but what cut deepest were the invisible scars, the years of labor, the sacrifices, the endless giving. My eyes drifted to the photograph on my nightstand, a younger version of me, my late wife beside me, and the children, smiling, their cheeks still round with youth. We had posed in front of a small Christmas tree, tinsel hanging unevenly because they insisted on decorating it themselves. I remembered that year vividly. I had worked double shifts at the factory day after day to afford even the smallest gifts. I came home with aching legs and blistered palms, but when I saw their faces light up as they opened their presents, all the pain disappeared. I closed my eyes and let the memories flood back. There was the new year when I sold my wristwatch, a gift from my father to buy them fireworks because they had begged for the big ones, the colorful ones that explode like stars. I can still hear their squeals as the night sky lit up with bursts of red and gold. They had clung to my arms, shouting, "Daddy, you're the best." And then the year when money was so tight I skipped meals so I could buy them warm coats. I pretended I wasn't hungry, told them I'd already eaten at work. The truth was I had sat in the dark kitchen with a glass of water, telling myself it was enough. But when I watched them run out into the snow, laughing and warm, I knew I had made the right choice. Every memory was painted with sacrifice, but also with love. Their joy had been my fuel. Their happiness had been my only reward. Now, sitting in the quiet of my room, I wondered where that love had gone. When had it soured into entitlement? When had gratitude turned into mockery? I thought of the countless hours spent at jobs no one else wanted. The cleaning shifts, the warehouse nights, the broken back from lifting crates long after my strength had waned. All of it, just so my children could live without worry. I never took vacations for myself, never bought new clothes, never indulged in small luxuries. I gave them everything I had and more. Tears blurred my vision as another memory surfaced, the first New Year after their mother died. They had been so small then, their eyes wide with confusion, asking, "Where's Mommy?" I had held them close, kissed their foreheads, and promised, "We'll be okay. We'll keep celebrating." She'd want us to. I had been both father and mother since then. I had cooked, cleaned, and soothed their fears even when mine consumed me. Every New Year I doubled my efforts to make the night magical, so they would never feel the emptiness I carried in my heart. And for a while it worked. They laughed, they hugged me, they said they loved me. Back then I was their hero. Back then they looked at me with pride, but now I was nothing more than an obstacle, a shadow, an embarrassment to be cast aside. The betrayal burned deeper with every thought. It wasn't just about this one holiday. It was about the years of giving only to be treated as disposable. My children had become blind to the very sacrifices that built their lives. I rose from the bed and walked to the window. Outside, snowflakes drifted lazily under the glow of the streetlight. It was a scene we once adored together. Huddled under blankets, sipping cocoa, I used to point at the falling snow and tell them, "Each flake is unique, just like you. That's what makes you special." They had giggled, pressing their small noses against the glass. Now I pressed my own forehead to the window, but the glass was cold and the laughter was gone. My chest tightened as I whispered into the silence. Where did I go wrong? Was I too soft? Did I give too much? But deep down I knew the answer. I hadn't gone wrong. Love had never been the mistake. Their choices, their selfishness, that was not my fault. Yet the ache of rejection was unbearable. To be cast aside not by strangers, not by colleagues, but by my own flesh and blood. That was a wound deeper than any other. I thought again of the trip, the resort, their mocking smiles. They had no idea. They thought they had outsmarted me as though I were some senile fool. But I wasn't. I still had fight left in me. I still had dignity, though they couldn't see it. I turned from the window and looked back at the photograph on the nightstand. My wife's gentle smile seemed to whisper encouragement. Her eyes filled with the warmth I so desperately missed. "No more tears," I murmured. "No more waiting for respect that never comes." In that moment, a clarity settled over me. I had given everything. My years, my strength, my love, and they had thrown it back in my face. But I would not let them have the final laugh. They thought they had already won. They thought they had left me behind. But New Year's was far from over. And so, with the weight of memories pressing against my heart and the sting of betrayal fresh in my veins, I made a quiet promise to myself. This year, the celebration would be mine. They would remember who I was, and they would regret ever forgetting. Sleep never came that night. I lay in bed tossing from side to side, their mocking words repeating in my head like a broken record. You'll only ruin the fun. You're embarrassing. You're a burden. Each phrase carved deeper wounds into my chest. At some point, the silence became unbearable. I rose, wrapped my robe tightly around me, and wandered into the living room. Their shopping bags still sat carelessly on the couch, receipts sticking out as if daring me to look. I hesitated, my fingers trembling as I reached for one of the slips of paper. At first it seemed harmless, lists of items, prices. Then my eyes caught the words printed in bold: luxury resorts, confirmed booking. My throat tightened. I pulled the paper closer, scanning quickly. Dates, destination, hotel package. And then my heart froze. Under payment method, it read, credit card, ending in 3471. I stared at the number. My pulse quickened, a cold sweat breaking across my forehead. That was my card. My card. No, I whispered, the word trembling out of me. I grabbed another receipt. Same number, another, same again. Ticket after ticket, every luxury booking, every indulgence, they had all been charged to me. For a moment, the room spun. I staggered back into the armchair, clutching the papers in disbelief. All this time, I thought they were careless, ungrateful, selfish. But this was worse. This was theft. Betrayal. Sharpened and polished into cruelty. Images crashed into my mind. Me working late nights, saving every penny, paying off debts slowly, carefully. Years of sacrifice to protect them from financial worry. And now, without a word, without shame, they had stolen from me, funding their luxury escape while laughing in my face. The sadness that had crushed me only hours earlier began to transform. Slowly, dangerously. It burned hot in my chest, spreading like fire through my veins. Anger. Pure, unfiltered anger. I clenched the receipt so tightly my knuckles whitened. They didn't even pay for it, I muttered through gritted teeth. They planned to leave me here alone, and they didn't even pay. Every laugh I remembered from earlier now sounded different. Mocking, smug, cruel. I heard my son's voice. Does it matter? It's handled. Yes, it mattered. It mattered more than anything. I rose to my feet, pacing the room like a caged animal. My reflection caught in the darkened window. Eyes hollow, jaw clenched, chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. For the first time in years, I didn't see the weary old man they claimed I was. I saw something else. Something sharper. Something dangerous. Memories of every sacrifice, every humiliation I had endured for them, now twisted into fuel. I remembered the double shifts, the meals skipped, the quiet tears shed in solitude so they could smile without worry. All of it taken for granted, discarded, and now mocked. And the worst of it, they had the audacity to steal. Not just my money, but my dignity. No, I said firmly, the word echoing in the empty room. Not this time. Not anymore. For years I had endured their indifference, their disrespect, their slow transformation into strangers I barely recognized. I told myself it was just a phase, that deep down they still cared. But this was final. They had crossed a line from which there was no return. I gathered every receipt, every piece of evidence, stacking them neatly on the table. My hands no longer trembled. They were steady, precise. With each paper I placed down, my resolve hardened. They thought they had outsmarted me, that I was too weak, too blind, too old to notice. But they were wrong. Anger sharpened my thoughts into clarity. They wanted a luxury New Year's without me. Very well, but they would not enjoy it. Not with stolen money. Not with my money. A bitter smile tugged at my lips, the first in many days. It was not the smile of joy, but of realization. The balance of power was shifting. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the glowing receipts scattered like confessions across the table. You think I'm useless, I whispered into the darkness. You think I'm nothing? But you've just given me the key. For the first time since their betrayal, I no longer felt weak. I no longer felt discarded. I felt powerful, because now I had a choice. And soon they would learn what it meant to underestimate the man who had built their lives, who had sacrificed everything, who they dared to rob and mock. The anger didn't consume me, it focused me. And as the clock ticked quietly toward midnight, I made a silent vow. Their New Year's celebration would not go as planned. Not this time. The house was silent, but inside me a storm raged. I sat at the table with the receipts spread before me like puzzle pieces. For hours I had stared at them, torn between anger and despair, but now something had shifted. My tears had dried. My hands no longer trembled. The grief had hardened into resolve. I rose slowly and walked to my desk in the corner of the room. A drawer squeaked open, revealing a worn leather notebook where I had always kept important numbers, passwords, and documents. My children thought of me as forgetful, a man lost in age and frailty. But what they never knew was how carefully I organized every detail of my life. Flipping through the pages, I found what I needed: the number of the travel agency printed neatly in my handwriting. I stared at it for a long moment. The tickets they bragged about, the luxurious resort they envisioned, all of it was tethered to me. My name, my credit card, my signature. They thought they had stolen my power, but in reality, they had handed me the strings. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. The dial tone hummed in my ear, steady, calm, almost mocking me. Finally, a cheerful voice answered. "Good evening, Travel Lux Agency. How may I help you today?" I cleared my throat, forcing my voice to remain steady. "Yes, I need to discuss a reservation under my name. Bookings made with card ending in 3471. There was a pause, the sound of rapid typing on a keyboard. "Yes, sir, I see the bookings here. 4 tickets to Aspen Luxury Resort, all-inclusive package. Congratulations, that's quite the holiday." "Not anymore," I replied flatly. "I'd like to cancel them." "Effective immediately." The agent hesitated. "Cancel? Sir, these are premium, non-refundable." I cut in, my tone sharper than even I expected. "They're in my name, charged to my account. Legally, I have the authority. Cancel. Every single one." The silence on the other end was broken by more typing, then a sigh. "Understood, sir. The tickets will be voided and confirmation will be sent to your email." A smile tugged at my lips. Slow, deliberate, almost foreign. "Thank you. You've just made my new year." As I set the phone down, a strange calm washed over me. The anger was still there, but now it was focused, refined into action. They had wanted to celebrate without me. They had wanted luxury, laughter, indulgence, all funded by the man they ridiculed. But now their dream was gone. I leaned back in my chair, imagining the scene. The children packing their bags with excitement, bragging about their grand escape, only to arrive at the airport and discover the truth. I could almost hear their confusion, their frantic voices, their panic as the reality sank in. And I would be here, silent, composed, knowing I had reclaimed what was mine. For the first time in days, I laughed. Not the bitter, broken laugh of a wounded man, but the quiet chuckle of someone who had turned the game around. But I knew this was only the beginning. Revenge was not about shouting, not about confrontation. It was about precision, about letting them feel the weight of their choices without ever raising my voice. I began to write in my notebook, outlining every step. The canceled tickets were just the first move. I would not scream, I would not beg, I would not explain. Instead, I would watch. I would wait. And when the moment came, I would let them discover on their own how powerless they truly were without me. The suspense was intoxicating. In that moment, I felt no weakness, no loneliness. For once, I held the cards. They believed I was in the dark, sulking in my room, drowning in tears. They had no idea I was the one pulling the strings behind the curtain. I placed the notebook back into the drawer and closed it softly. The house was still, the night deepening outside, but my heart was lighter. I whispered into the empty room. "This year you'll celebrate, but not the way you think." And with that promise, I turned off the light and let the shadows conceal my smile, because the plan had already begun. The next morning, the house buzzed with a kind of energy I hadn't felt in years. But it wasn't joy that filled the air, it was arrogance. From my room, I could hear the thuds of suitcases being pulled from closets, zippers opening and closing, the crinkle of shopping bags as new clothes were laid out like trophies.
"Make sure you pack the ski jackets."
My daughter shouted down the hall, her voice sharp and bossy. "Aspen isn't like here. It's freezing. And don't forget the new boots Dad paid for. Oh wait, he doesn't even know." Her laugh followed, cruel and light, slicing through the walls. Another voice joined in, my son, deep and mocking. He'd probably try to wear his old ugly coat from the 90s if he came along. Imagine the embarrassment. Thank God we told him to stay home. Can you picture him standing in the lobby of the resort? People would think he's the janitor. They erupted into laughter. Loud, careless laughter that dug like knives into my chest. I sat silently on the edge of my bed, my hands clasped tightly together, letting their words wash over me. Every insult, every mockery, they thought they were clever, unstoppable, untouchable. In the living room, I heard the sound of a phone ringing, followed by my younger daughter's excited voice. "Hey, Jess! Guess what? We're going to Aspen for New Year's. Luxury resort, all expenses covered. Yeah, the full package. Spa, ski passes, private dinners, everything. Can you believe it? Oh, him. Please, he's not coming. He'd ruin the whole vibe. We told him to stay behind. Honestly, it's the best decision we ever made." Her friend must have said something amusing because she cackled so loudly I flinched. Exactly. Finally, a real holiday without dragging dead weight around. This year is all about us. I could picture her tossing her hair back, proud and radiant in her selfishness, basking in the admiration of her friend who had no idea of the truth, that every word she bragged about was built on stolen money. Another conversation drifted through the door. My eldest son was on a video call with his buddies, his tone smug. "Man, Aspen is no joke. You should see the resort online. 5 stars. Celebrities stay there. And we've got tickets in hand. New Year's at the top of the world, champagne at midnight. It's going to be legendary." He paused, chuckling. "Oh, Dad? He's not part of this. Too old, too depressing. Honestly, he should be grateful we didn't make him babysit the house." More laughter. More cruel jabs. I leaned back against the headboard, staring at the ceiling, my heart tightening with every word. They were celebrating their victory, believing they had cast me aside forever. To them, I wasn't family anymore. I was an obstacle, a burden, something to be pushed away so they could enjoy life without shame. The irony burned deliciously in my mind. They didn't know. They had no idea that their precious tickets, their grand escape, their shining plan for New Year's, it had already turned to dust. I rose quietly, opened my door just a crack, and watched them from the hallway. Suitcases lined the floor, shiny new clothes spilling from open bags. My daughter twirled in front of the mirror, modeling a glittering dress she would never get to wear at the resort's gala dinner. My son snapped photos of his designer jacket, sending them to friends with captions full of arrogance. "Dad should see us now." One of them smirked, adjusting his sunglasses indoors. "This is what success looks like. He wasted his life working, and for what? We're living better without him." The others nodded in agreement, their voices dripping with disdain. I retreated before they could see me, returning to the solitude of my room. My fist clenched, but my lips curved into a cold smile. Let them mock. Let them boast. Let them believe they had won. The higher they built their tower of arrogance, the sweeter their fall would be. From my window, I saw them load the car with luggage, taking selfies, posting stories online, flaunting every detail of their luxury holiday for friends and strangers to admire. They were already drunk on victory, intoxicated by the illusion of freedom and wealth. But illusions don't last forever. As the sun dipped lower, their laughter still echoed through the house. My eldest clinked glasses of sparkling juice with his siblings, toasting to the best New Year ever. They posed together, raising their glasses high, never once thinking of the man who had given them everything. I watched in silence, my expression unreadable. To them I was invisible, erased, forgotten. But soon the truth would arrive like a storm. For now I let them dance in their false triumph, basking in their short-lived glory. I let them believe they had broken me. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge is not in striking too soon, but in waiting silently until the very moment when arrogance turns to ashes. And as they laughed louder, my resolve deepened. This was their last night of joy. New Year's Eve morning dawned bright and crisp. The streets glittered with festive lights, and the airport buzzed with energy as families gathered to travel for the holiday. Laughter echoed through the halls. The smell of fresh coffee and baked pastries filled the air, and the distant sound of carols mixed with the rumble of rolling suitcases. Into this lively atmosphere walked my children, heads high, sunglasses perched on their noses, dressed in expensive coats and scarves that screamed wealth. Their luggage gleamed with designer labels, polished and proud. "Make sure you get this on video," my eldest son said, handing his phone to his younger sister. "We're starting the new year in style. #luxury life. #Aspen. She laughed, spinning slowly to capture the marble floors, the holiday decorations, and finally herself with a smug pout. While others are stuck at home, we're celebrating in the mountains. Cheers to us. Their voices carried in the terminal, drawing curious glances from strangers. Some smiled, others frowned at the arrogance, but my children didn't notice. They basked in their moment, certain that the world revolved around them. At the check-in counter, they strutted forward, sliding passports across the desk with a flourish. 4 tickets to Aspen, my eldest son announced proudly. First class. The airline clerk typed swiftly, her polite smile never fading. A few seconds later, her brow furrowed. She typed again, double-checked the screen, and then looked up. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "There seems to be an issue with your booking." My daughter leaned forward, impatient. "What do you mean?" "We have reservations. Aspen Luxury Resort, first-class tickets. Everything is confirmed." The clerk tapped her keyboard again, her voice calm. "The system shows these tickets were canceled 2 days ago. They're no longer valid." The words dropped like a stone into water, rippling through the air. For a moment there was silence. Then came the explosion. "Canceled? That's impossible!" My son barked, his voice rising. "Check again." "You must be mistaken." The clerk shook her head, professional but firm. "I've checked twice. The tickets were booked under a Mr. Father's name, and he canceled them. I can show you the record if you like." Gasps escaped from the people in line behind them. Heads turned. Whispers began. My daughter's face flushed crimson. "This is ridiculous. Do you know who we are? We were supposed to be in Aspen tonight." The clerk's voice remained steady. "I understand your frustration, miss, but the tickets no longer exist. They were voided at the request of the cardholder." "The cardholder?" My younger daughter repeated, her voice trembling. "Wait, you mean Dad?" The realization struck them like lightning. Their confident expressions shattered, replaced by confusion, then horror. Strangers behind them muttered, "They're making a scene. Spoiled kids. Look at them, acting so entitled." Phones came out. Someone was already recording. My eldest son slammed his palm against the counter, his voice desperate now. There must be another way. "Put them back. Rebook them. We have to be on that flight." The clerk's reply was cool and unyielding. "Sir, these were premium holiday tickets. Every flight is full. I'm afraid there's nothing I can do." Humiliation washed over them in waves. The siblings looked at each other, their bravado evaporating. They were no longer glamorous travelers, but children exposed in their arrogance, stripped of their illusions. My eldest tried to salvage pride. "This is just a mistake. We'll fix it. Come on, let's go." But his voice shook. His hands trembled as he grabbed his luggage. From nearby, a child's voice rang out innocently. "Mommy, why are they so angry?" The mother whispered back, "Because they thought the world belonged to them, honey." The words stung sharper than any insult I could have delivered myself. My children stumbled away from the counter, their heads bowed, their pride in tatters. The cameras still followed, the whispers still trailed them. Every step was heavy with humiliation. In that crowded airport surrounded by strangers, they finally tasted what it meant to lose. Not just tickets, but dignity. And somewhere far from that scene, I sat quietly at home, knowing that justice had spoken louder than I ever could. Their celebration had ended before it even began. The front door slammed so hard it rattled the frames on the wall. Footsteps thundered into the living room. Luggage dragged behind them like anchors of their defeat. I sat in my chair by the window, a book in my hands, as if nothing had happened. My calmness only fueled their rage. "How could you do this to us?" My eldest son shouted, his face red with fury. "Do you have any idea how humiliated we were at the airport?" My daughter's voice cracked with outrage. Everyone was staring at us, recording us. "You destroyed everything!" I closed the book softly, placed it on the table, and looked at them. My voice was quiet, almost too quiet. "Destroyed? No. I simply took back what was mine." They froze, startled by the steadiness in my tone. My youngest hissed, "Those tickets were ours." I raised a hand, silencing her. "No, they were never yours. They were bought with my card, my name, my money. Just like every holiday, every gift, every so-called luxury you've enjoyed in your lives." Silence fell. Their anger clashed with disbelief, their eyes wide as if they had never considered the truth. I leaned forward, my voice sharp now, cutting through the air. "Do you remember the New Year's when I worked a double shift just so you could have fireworks? Do you remember the Christmas when I sold my watch to buy you presents? Or the countless birthdays when I sacrificed my own needs so you could have parties, friends, joy? Every memory you cherish of your youth was paid for by these hands. Every smile on your faces was carved from my sacrifice." Their mouths opened, but no words came. "And today," I continued, my voice steady with cold dignity, You had the audacity to tell me I would ruin your fun, that I was deadweight, that I didn't deserve to be part of your lives. I stood slowly, letting my presence fill the room. You paraded around in clothes I bought, bragged about tickets I paid for, mocked the man who gave you everything, and still thought you were untouchable. My eldest son clenched his fists. You embarrassed us. No, I snapped, my voice thunderous now. You embarrassed yourselves. I didn't have to lift a finger. The world saw you for what you are. Spoiled children who never learned the value of respect or gratitude or family. They shifted uncomfortably, rage slowly turning into shame. My words weighed heavier than any punishment. I softened my tone, but the edge remained. Do you know why I canceled those tickets? Not to hurt you, not to play some cruel game, but because I wanted you to see the truth that without me, your castles collapse. That your arrogance is built on sand and one wave of reality can wash it all away. My daughter's eyes glistened, her voice trembling.
Dad,
We wanted to have fun. Fun? I echoed, shaking my head. At the cost of your father's dignity? Fun while erasing the man who made your lives possible? No, that is not fun. That is betrayal. I let the silence stretch, let them feel the weight of their actions. Then slowly I sat back down, reclaiming my calm. You thought you were punishing me by leaving me behind. But in truth, you freed me from the burden of children who see their father not as a man, but as a wallet. From the pain of watching my sacrifices turned into mockery. They stood before me, furious still, but hollow now, their arrogance stripped away. I looked each of them in the eye, my voice low and final. I may have canceled your tickets, but you canceled something far greater. You canceled respect. You canceled love. And once those are gone, there is no boarding pass back. The room fell silent, heavy with words that could not be taken back. Their fury had no place left to go. Their pride had no shield left to hide behind. And for the first time, they stood not as victors, but as children facing the man who had always been stronger than they ever realized. The house was still. Only the faint ticking of the clock filled the silence, each second hammering the truth deeper into their hearts. My children stood before me, deflated, their once loud voices replaced by uneasy glances and nervous breaths. I leaned back in my chair, my hands folded calmly on my lap. For the first time in years, I felt no need to shout, no need to beg for respect. My voice carried the weight of 1,000 sacrifices, and it was enough. You know, I began softly, I spent my whole life trying to make your lives brighter. I worked double shifts, missed meals, missed sleep. I gave you everything I had, not because I had to, but because I wanted to see you smile. I paused, watching their eyes flicker with guilt. Do you remember the winter when I came home with frostbitten hands, but I still brought gifts for you? Or the summer when I worked in the heat until I could barely stand, just so we could afford a holiday by the sea? Those weren't just vacations. They were pieces of my life I handed over to you willingly, lovingly. My eldest son lowered his gaze, jaw tight. My daughter shifted uncomfortably, her arms wrapped around herself as if to shield against the truth. I straightened, my voice sharper now. And yet, after all these years, you dared to say I would ruin your fun, that you didn't need me, that you'd celebrate without me. Well, I let the words hang for a moment, heavy with finality. Now you can. Their eyes shot up, startled. My words cut deeper than anger ever could. Yes, I continued, my tone calm but unyielding. You can celebrate alone. Without me, without my money, without the man who carried you through life on his shoulders. You wanted freedom from me. You have it. But understand this, freedom without gratitude is just emptiness. And that is what you chose. The room fell quiet again. My daughter's lip trembled. Dad, we didn't mean... I raised a hand, silencing her. No, you meant every word. Words spoken in arrogance reveal the truth of the heart, and your hearts tonight were filled with selfishness. Tears welled in her eyes. My younger son whispered almost to himself, we just wanted to have fun. Fun at what cost? I asked, my voice steady. At the cost of respect? At the cost of family? Tell me, did it feel good to mock your father while using his money? Did it feel powerful to erase me from your plans while standing on the foundation I built for you? That is not fun. That is betrayal dressed in glitter. My eldest son's shoulders sagged. He rubbed his face with both hands, the bravado gone. My children were unraveling before me, the weight of their choices crushing them at last. You see, I said, softening but never faltering, money comes and goes. Tickets, holidays, luxuries, they fade. But the bond between parent and child, that should never be disposable. You broke that bond the moment you cast me aside. My words settled over them like a storm cloud. My daughter finally broke, her sobs filling the room. She covered her face with trembling hands. "We're sorry. We didn't realize." Her tears might have stirred compassion in another moment, another life. But tonight I felt only the ache of too many years spent unappreciated. I shook my head slowly. Realization is not enough. Not tonight. Not when the clock is about to strike a new year, and the damage is already done. I stood walking past them, my steps firm and deliberate. You wanted to celebrate without me. Tonight you will. And maybe as the fireworks light the sky and you sit in silence, you'll finally understand what you lost. They called after me, pleading voices, broken apologies, but I didn't turn back. I opened the door and stepped into the night air, crisp and cold, the stars burning like silent witnesses above me. For the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of peace. Not joy, not triumph, just peace. Because I had finally spoken the truth they refused to see. Behind me, the echoes of their regret filled the house. Ahead of me, the new year waited. Quiet, unburdened, mine. The night sky cracked open with the sound of fireworks, colors painting the heavens in dazzling bursts of red, gold, and blue. For years, this had been the moment my family would gather around, laughing, hugging, welcoming the new year together. But tonight, the house was quiet behind me, its walls echoing with shame and silence. I had no intention of celebrating. I thought I would simply sit alone on the porch, watch the distant fireworks, and let the night pass. But as I settled into my chair, a soft knock came at the gate. "Happy New Year," my neighbor's voice called out cheerfully. There they stood, a family of 4, smiling warmly, holding a plate of homemade food. "We didn't want you to be alone tonight. Come join us." For a moment I hesitated. Blood had rejected me, but here was kindness without obligation. My chest tightened, not with sadness, but with gratitude. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice thick. And for the first time that day, I smiled. Their home was filled with laughter, simple food, and genuine warmth. No luxury, no expensive tickets, no grand spectacle. Just togetherness. And as I sat among them, I realized this was family. Respect, care, presence. Not the bloodline that mocked me, but the hearts that valued me. Meanwhile, across town, my children sat in the living room, surrounded by silence. The tickets were gone, the airport humiliation still fresh in their minds. Fireworks exploded outside, but inside, the glow of the screen felt hollow. They had no celebration, no joy, only the bitter taste of their own greed. My eldest stared out the window, his reflection pale against the glass. We should have just spent it with him," he muttered, voice cracking. My daughter hugged her knees, tears slipping down her face. He was always there for us, and we threw him away. The younger one shook his head, unable to speak. The weight of their actions was heavier than any canceled trip. They had lost something no money could ever buy back. As the final firework lit up the midnight sky, I stepped outside my neighbor's home, watching the colors rain down. My heart was calm, lighter than it had been in years. The laughter of kind people echoed behind me, warming the cold night. I thought of my children, sitting in that house consumed by regret. And though part of me ached for what had been lost, I knew a truth deeper than pain. Love cannot be demanded and respect cannot be purchased. The night air whispered the lesson I had lived to see. Money can buy tickets, but not love or respect. And with that, I welcomed the new year. Not with sorrow, not with bitterness, but with peace.